Okay, good morning. So we will start the lectures on strategic management, which I started last week, and I have to give you two questions and see whether you can answer these two questions. Right? Okay, so I have given you two questions. Briefly explain the difference where we have left last time. We discussed about the strategy planning. We discussed what are the areas we are going to cover, and then we discussed the corporate strategies, and then we given introductions to industry analysis, how many banks, how many financial institutions in Sri Lanka, and then we talk about what is strategic planning and what are the questions we are going to handle through strategic planning process. Then we went in to discuss about what is strategic planning and what is strategic management. And also we discussed about what is the strategic planning process. Now, usually the strategic planning process, what is your examiner expected from you? Basically, very broad aspect like this. Now, if the examiner asks from you, what are discuss the stages of strategic planning process. Now, what are the stages we usually call is formulation, implementation, and evaluation, but they not expected to that level, but they basically expecting stages of strategic planning process. Started with vision. We know that is vision. Now, vision is talk about what are your organizations going to be, right? And then they discuss about the strategic intent. Strategic intent means upakamika abhipraya. So it's a course of action, right? So second point is strategic intent, the scope of action. The third one, of course, the mission. What is the organization existing? Third step is the strategic mission. And then we discuss after the mission how we are going to achieve your mission. It's called goal, and from goal is going that to objectives, and the next one how we are going to achieve the objectives is strategies. So these are the fundamental steps involving in strategic planning process, right? Vision, strategic intent, mission, goals, objectives, and strategies. Now, these things we have discussed last week, right? Can you remember? We discussed last week all these things. What are the steps involving in the strategic planning process? Vision, strategic intent, that means your plan of action. Then the mission, goals, objectives, and strategy, right? If I put it in here, we can say vision, and then from vision, we call strategic intention or strategic intent. Rather, we say strategic intent, right? And then mission, and within sometimes we have a mission value statements also. Then the goals, how we are going to achieve goals, objectives, and strategies. So these are the steps of strategic planning process. Right? Strategic planning process. Then we discuss in greater length what is strategic planning process is about, right? And we explain what is visions, intention, mission, goals, and objectives, but we have not covered the strategies part. Then we discussed what are the benefits of strategic planning. we discuss about what is strategic planning mean. There are 5-6 strategic planning. Basically encourage proactive stance. That means allowing organization to be proactive rather than reactive. Then they discuss the provides a direction. Then that is what you call a set up a sense of direction, right? Organization by implementing a strategic planning, and also increasing the operational efficiency. That means through rational resource allocation, so you can improve your operational efficiency, and help to increase market share and the profitability, right? And some of the things we discuss in details. What are the benefits of strategic planning? And then we discuss a little bit of when you are going to implement the strategic planning, what are the problems, pitfalls or problems are coming through strategic planning process. Sometimes we call is cost and time, spending more money and the cost, and it may be sometimes prescriptive nature. I mean, more complex, it's more formal rather than informal, right? So another expected point. Some people are thinking, but lack of realism. What does that lack of realism mean? So the doing it because it's required to do so, because it's a central bank requirement. Every bank need to prepare a strategic plan. Therefore, because of that, we do it, right? Those are some of the pitfalls. And also, maybe say, sometimes they say, okay, why we go for planning process? We have enough experience. We may take some intuitive decisions and things like that, right? And we discuss all these things in the strategic planning process as a disadvantage. And then we went in to discuss about how the human resource support strategic planning process, as well as how budget support the strategic planning process. And then we went in to discuss detail about what is vision, right? And also we discussed why we need to constantly review the strategic planning. What is the reason for that? Then we went in to discuss the component of these elements, right? What are those elements? Vision, then why vision is important with some example of your banks. Then what is mission statement or what is mission? Missions are there to achieve the visions, and we discuss some of the components of the mission statement, and also with some example from Sri Lankan banking and leading organization in the world. Take into account what is their mission. Then we discuss today, we are talking about values. So value statement. So how value statement or how values an organization contributing to your mission and goals. And then we discuss about moving from missions to goals. Then we discuss about from missions, goals to objectives, and we discuss what do you mean by an objective. And then we went in to discuss in detail what is a SMART objective. Those are characteristics and objective. And then we discuss about the functions and objective, functions of an objective. And according to the Peter Drucker, we discuss about what are the areas you can set an objectives for a corporate plan or a strategic plan. And then we discuss hierarchy of objective in different levels: corporate level, technical level, and operational level. And then we discuss a little bit of policies. Now, what does policy mean? So how your action plan is working within the framework of policies, that the rules and regulations of the organization. So where that is the place where we have stopped. And in your handout, I'll give you 2 questions. Briefly explain the difference between each of the following pairs of vision statement and mission statement, right? Now, what is vision statement? If you put this one, say differences, so many differences. Now, vision, I told you, is a very broad, and mission is very purpose is existence and is an aspirations, future positions of the company, and mission is how you're going to achieve your vision. Dream, like and when it's a dream, is a actual business scope. Then is basically vision statement should inspire the people to go, and mission statement is inspire them to action, right? So those are some of the differences, and we discuss about the why corporate values is important for an organization, because the corporate values basically important because it's give your people, the stakeholders, how your businesses are carried out, right? Okay, so then today, this is what we have learned last week, right? Those are the things what we have learned last week, and let's look at it today. Right, the number 2, we are going to discuss about the second stage, that means the analytical stage, right? This is also a very interesting area. Let me explain now all these things in detail, right? So try to understand. Now, we have 3 questions. No? What are the 3 questions in strategy planning we need to answer? Where is our organization now? Where is our organization want to be? So what is our present organization situation? Right? Where our organization situation? Where are we going to be? Now that part we have discussed last week. Where we want to be. That is why we start with vision, mission, right? Goals, objectives. Where are we going to be? But another sections, in order to go to that destination, we must be aware where we are now. Right? What is our present position? Now, for that, we need to analyze our organization as we have analyzed the external organization. Right? So we need to evaluate our position. Right? Sometimes we call a situational analysis. So we are using certain techniques to analyze our present position. Right? Now, the 2 basic methods we are going to discuss here is, if you really look at it, internal and external factors. Right? Now, this is the 2 business environment, political environment, micro level environment, and internal environment. Now, internal environment means any business environment, we have 3 areas, right? One means the macro area, that is the more outside our external. Now, if you really look at in this diagram, you can see internal. Internal environment means basically within our own organization. Say you are working for a Bank of Ceylon. Say Bank of Ceylon, that is inside the Bank of Ceylon is called internal environment. So the employee relationship, organization culture, organization strategy, organization resources. So those are internal, employees and all, right? So we need to control all these things. So we think that our entire environment, internal environment, which is the environment which is close to your environment, we call them as a micro environment. You call them as micro environment. So under the micro environment, and we discuss about our competitors. Who are our competitors? Who are our bank competitors? Right? Maybe direct competitors, maybe indirect competitors. Then we discuss about our customers who are very close to us and the industry environment. Right? Those are we call micro environment, the environment which is more close to our environment, internal environment. So those factors can be influence our business decision and strategic planning. The other environment we call as a macro environment, that is we usually call them as a pestle. So these are the environment we are a little bit difficult to control. So therefore, we need to respond all these three environments. So both therefore micro as well as macro can be considered as external environment, right? So both macro and micro we can be considered as external environment, and within the organization we call them as internal environment. Now, why we need, when you develop a strategies planning, we need to analyze our present position, how the macro factors impact the organization, how the micro factors impact the organization, right? Even for internal factors, when you're developing a strategy, how it impact our preparation of strategic plan, right? I think you have an idea about on that, right? Now, that is what we call where is the business now. So for that, what we do audits. Now, don't get confused with your normal audit, right? So we do with the internal audit. So internal audit means find it out internally where our things are good, where our things are bad, and things like that. Now we use the existing data and information generated from within the business. Right now, say from example, you can say how it is your profits, what is your profits, and what is your what is your bank cost to income ratio, cost per productivity, or like that. Internally, you have collected maybe financial ratios, maybe some non-financial ratios within organization. So therefore, internal audits may be carried out. And then we'll see where we are good and where we are bad. Now, external audit means, so we are collecting information pertaining to our business from environment impact. So which will facilitate to take us a good quality decision making, right? Okay. So then for that, what we need to do, for that we need to carry out environmental analysis. Right? For that, we need to analyze the cap. Now, if you want to see your body, right, you need to carry out some tests. So for that, you do a lot of tests like blood sugar test, cholesterol test, then fasting blood sugar test, gamma test, beta test, all tests you do, and then you find it out what is your body position. Right? So what are the good things and what are the bad things? Like organization, you need to analyze all environment. Now, here remember, if you say environment means both inside and outside. That is within your organization, within your bank, and outside your organization. Right? So then we need to find it out what are your strengths and opportunities available in the market for you, bank, to earn more profit. So what are the things you are good at and what are the things you are not good at? Then how can we satisfy our external stakeholders? Right? We are going to discuss. Now, so far, remember, there won't be a question asked from stakeholder, but there can be a question asked from the stakeholders where we are going to discuss. I incorporate new thing into this syllabus. Earlier syllabus, earlier section, I mean earlier when I've delivered 2020 January exam, 21 January exam, I have not discussed the stakeholders, but I thought now this year we may put in stakeholders as well. Because there may be a possibility of asking, and also the assessment of competition. Now this time there is a question on competition, right? Okay, that we have discussed last time. Okay, now let's look at it some internal audit. Now try to go with me very carefully, try to listen to me, then you get a lot of idea about strategic planning. Okay, now first the audit we do, we look at it internal analysis, right? Internal analysis means, so it is your internal environment. right? Internal environment means we are trying to identify what are the goods and the bads of your internal organization. Say by BOC, what are good things at the BOC, right? Then we first may look at it from productivity. Now, how human resources? Now, for example, you can say human resources mean productivity wise. You say cost per employee, cost per deposits, cost per profit. Likewise, you can have all these measurement. How things goods, right? And how you use our capital, asset capital requirement, capital adequacy requirements, all things we may look at it, because those things are important uh, to see, to compare with the external competitors as well as some regulatory requirements. So we look at the productivity. Then we look at efficiency. So using ratio analysis in financial information analytical is things we can make use of, how you are good at converting your resources. Then about the cost. So what are the areas we spend more cost for? Labor or staff, or right? With how can we cover unnecessary expenses? Right, cost cutting is an opportunity today, yes, because due to fact that business are not so good, so we have to reduce our cost. Then we look at it, some internal data as from that you can say labor turnover. Now labor turnover in banking sector, the labor turnover is not so, right? Why people? What is labor turnover mean? How many people are leaving the organization in a given period of time? So banks employees are never go. So labor turnover may not there, but there may be a sometime there is a one bank face this problem, right? And the absenteeisms. So absenteeism talk about how satisfy your workforce and things like that. So you can get measurements of analyzing these things. And customer satisfaction survey, you can see to what extent your customers are satisfied with your services. Then quality aspects, for how many complaints are coming for a bank branch wise, like that. Then we look at it, the financial aspect, cash flow statement, and the sales trends in terms of deposits mobilization as well as loan uh, release. Then the audit faction also, how good our people to do audit, right? And for that, sometimes we carried out certain tests, SWOT analysis, right? So we will look at it to study all these things. Make use of your uh, internal information, and also core competencies. Now the competency mean basically we call, if you say what are competency mean your skills, your attitudes, your knowledge, uh, your attributes and things like that. That is your organization staff is having, right? So if your organization is not so heavy, so how to provide them competency, how we are map the competence, we call this is competency mapping, right? Through training and development we may add some competencies, because these things are important for you to develop strategic plan, right? Okay, so these are the some of the internal factors. Now I'm just going to add another two things in internal audits today. Let me explain a little bit of two things, right? Through internal analysis, we need to analyze our product portfolio, right? We need to analyze our product portfolio. So, there are two common approach. I think some of maybe you are aware. If you want to analyze your existing product portfolio, we have a two well recognized system. So two recognized systems are called Boston Consultancy Group, and PLC. And again, I just incorporated to you. There may be a question can come in future, right? So the BCG and the PLC are two product portfolio analytical techniques, right? Two product portfolio analytical techniques. I'll just make a humble request. I know you are you are just completed the IABF, so therefore please feel free to ask from me, because I usually I get lot of responses from I'm the lecturing for senior students as well, entire FIM. So I got a lot of response, and I'm also teaching IABF. So they have a lot of feedback. They ask question from me, and they usually ask question from me, and if they have not understood, they'll ask to ask me to clarify. I know a lot of students are not in live, but when I go through the coverage, I mean, to see how many people are seeing my lectures, and it is more than but actually participate, right? So some of you maybe have actually participating, so you must get an idea, or must try to question from me, or ask, so we need further clarification on this, so try to get a maximum benefit. So the students who just go through the recorded version may have no having that facility, right? So people who are involving in, try to ask from me. I don't know whether you understood or not, whether you are listening, right? It is not a physical class, right? It is a virtual class. So try to get more involvement, ask questions, and then only I can explain. Otherwise, I need to assume you understood everything. Okay, now going back to having said like that, going back to dot, right? Going back to dot. So now I'm going to explain with you internal analytical, two important analytical part. So the famous one, you know, the product life cycle. So every product in your product portfolio means, so the lending products, services, or deposit product, or liability product, asset products available in your bank to sell it to customers. So that is what your bank is doing. Every organization sells some product or services. Bank has no option to that. So they also do some sort of a selling. What they are selling services. They are selling products. Products may be a liability product, so asset product. Now liability product be deposit products, and asset product we usually call them as the loan products. Apart from that, they are providing a lot of other services, right? So then we need to understand what products give us the highest revenue, and which products are not give the highest revenue, and then what is the growth level of our product. Now, say for an example, so most of you are at the younger stage, or maybe the growth stage. As far as we are concerned, as a human being, I am concerned, I'm in the maturity stage, right? Okay, so we need to understand certain products which is in the available in your portfolio, right? That is why we work it out. We call Casa, right? Casa ratio means current asset, current account, as well as savings ratio, right? So every manager, every management, every board director or top level executive need to know your Casa ratio. So everybody like to improve your Casa ratio. So improving Casa ratio, that improve the profits. What is Casa mean? Current account and savings account. So that is product portfolio. Current account and savings account means your product portfolio instrument, right? So you need to know what is your level of your savings and current account, how many customers are there, what are the features we offer it, right? All things you need to know. For that, we study product life cycle. And remember, the product life cycle is contributing to strategy plan. That is why we need to look at how we are going to look at your existing product portfolio. How can we redesign? How can you relaunch this product? How to develop a new product, right? Things like that. Okay, so for that, I'm going to explain to you the product called the product life cycle. So it's like human being. We also going through phases, right? Like in our life, products also going through a services. So usually the product life cycle consists of mainly 4 stages. That is introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. And but we again discuss before you introduce, it's called the product development stage. I think a lot of banks are having new product development committees in your organization. It's like product development stage is like a embryonic stage of our life. It is the mother's womb or test tube, whatever. Right? It's called embryonic stage. The moment you give birth, we call them as an introduction. Once you launch the product into the market, we call the introduction. Then the products get the acceptance from the market, and the product is growing. The more product is going, sales are increasing, and accordingly, you notice that the downline is the profit chart, right? You see how these profit charts and your sales chart is behaving. When the product reaches the maturity stage, right? Product reaches the maturity stage where the higher sales as well as the profit also go to that. And you see the next level is the saturity level, or after that is called the decline stage. The sales are dropping, profits also are dropping. Now in your organization, you may have a lot of products which are not marketed now from your bank. So you are not much considered to sell this product, right? So this is the pattern of a product life cycle. Now, what is important? Now, it is important to understand about which stage of your product life cycle, which stage of your products in that product life cycle, right? Now, say for an example, I will explain to you very simply what is the development stage. So, when you develop a new product, say for a develop a new product, mean a new credit product, maybe new pension product. Right now, sometimes now these days, central bank also requests you to, maybe banks should request you to come up with new pension product, right? Because a lot of private banks and a lot of people are not having the pension, so they need to come something similar to the pension where you get some benefits after you retire, enjoy throughout your life, right? So that's the development stage. Now, for that, you need to develop a new product, right? Now, for that, you may first need to understand what the customers want, what are their needs. For that, we may carry out some market research, right? We may look at it, our competitors, what type of product they offer. We can copy them, right? Otherwise, you may come up with fully innovative product. Now, if I explain to you now these, how penicillin, the antibiotic develop. How Teflon develop. I think you heard about non-stick pans. Where you won't get stick something when you're cooking called non-stick fan, no? So you know how the non-stick fan develop. Is an accidentally and is an innovative product. But most of the time what banks are doing, What banks are doing, we try to re-modify your existing product, even for a housing loan now. So they come up with some features. We introduce again. Banks, different banks are introduced housing loan in a different way, either changing their structures or maybe pricing structure change, right? I saw some banks are telling, අපි මොකටද අනුන්ගේ ගේකට පොලි කුලී ගෙවන්නේ අපේ ලෝන් එකට අපි පොලි ගෙවමු. A good commercial, and then they say 5 year we have a grace period for capital payments. You can pay only the interest. Actually, it is a moratorium. I remember moratorium we talk about today is not a new thing. There are some products, even now we have a moratorium schemes. If you pay only the interest, that is moratorium. Right? Okay, for students who go for scholarships, exams, go abroad studying, we have a grace period. And now through the grace period, there are two options. To the moratorium or grace period, you can pay only the interest, or you don't want to pay anything, but your interest part will be added in the future. So some people are saying that's burden for your investment, for your installment. So therefore, they will pay only interest, not to pay capital, and like that. There are so many new way of credit products are coming down, right? That's a development stage, right? How many now in your bank you need to look at it? How many products we need to develop new? Are we going to come up? Because you identify there's a gap in the market. No banks is fulfill that requirement. So we may come up with a new product. So that is involved for your strategic planning because it contributing for more profits. That is why we need to study your internal strengths and your internal analysis, whether how many products you may need to relook at it or come up with new ideas, right? Okay, so going back again to the introduction stage about the product life cycle. I told you once you introduce into the market, and it's called the introduction stage. Now we need to do a lot of things in the marketing point of view. So we need to create awareness about the public, otherwise people don't know whether you have come up with nice product. People are not aware about the features of the product. For that you need to communicate, right? And you need to look at it, how the product is moving. So now for an example, if you really look at it, what are the areas you need to look at it? If you look at it, your sales, usually the sales are less sales mean. So for the loan product, you develop a new loan product. Initially, people have not taken much. So the cost is high because because you need money for sales, so the profit also not much. Right? What may be your objective? What may be your marketing objective? Will be to create awareness about the product and basic offer, and price may be cost plus, right? Like that. Okay, so these are the things you need to look at it. Then we go to the growth level, the next level of the product life cycle. Now, what happened? The sales are now increasing. Accordingly, your revenue also increasing. Then now monitor the market. Now, then the competitors are thinking, this product is going very much increasing by housing loan, pawning increased by other banks. Our pawning portfolio is not so. Our housing loan portfolio is not moving. So what we can do? You need to be careful about your competitors. Then you need to look at it. Some of the characteristics at the growth stage is sales are increasing, cost for customer is now coming down, profits are increasing, my market share is going down, right? Price now need to be a more penetrated level. Distribution is intensive. Okay, so growth stage, even for our lifetime, we can growth stage again. ළමයි එහෙම පුදුමාකාර විදිහට වෙනස් වෙනවනේ. නේද? වෙනස් වෙනවා ලස්සන වෙලා බලන් ඉන්න බැරි විදිහට වෙනස් වෙනවා. මේ කාලෙ තුල growth stage we call teenagers, right? Okay. Then we move into the maturity stage, the next level. So from growth, now you are becoming maturity level. Now during the maturity sales are good, then you're earning much more profits. And remember, the competition is high. Very difficult time is the maturity, right? So you need to understand what products in your portfolio in which state. Yeah, now this maturity stage where you have the peak sales, right? High profit. Now, what is your objective should be to maintain your market share, maintain your profit you are generating. So how can you maintain now? For example, you take Sunlight, Lux, whatever the product. Good example I can quote you is take Sunlight. Now, when the product comes to a maturity stage, right? That is the time you want to have a more time in the maturity stage, but there will be a lot of competition coming, right? So you know what is the next stage. So once you go to the maturity or the saturation stage, you know the product's going to come down. Now what lot of organizations do, once the products come to a maturity stage, now lot of organizations try to extend the product. That is called product extension, right? Otherwise, you know the next level is the product is going to come. Now, what are the action you can take? That is even for banks, especially you take the Unilever, now say Sunlight. What they are telling, and Sunlight now is Suwandaki. Now Sunlight now a Penubuki. Now you see, mataka dogulo the Sunlight, Sunlight tawa, Sudupata tawa, Pata Veraskala, Kola Pata Kala, Sunlight. ඊට පස්සේ අරලිය සුවඳ ආවා, නිල්මහනේ සුවඳ ආවා. දැන් මේ දවස්වල යන්නේ මොන සුවඳද? සකුරා සුවඳ. Right? Because they want to extend it, otherwise the product is going to come down. Right? Like Lifebuoy. Now earlier Lifebuoy can sport is then germ killing. Now they have changed. Right? They have extended their product life cycle. Now banks also like that. But once the banks come to a certain level, but banks need to relaunch the product. How banks is relaunching the product? Important things. How banks relaunch the product? Add some value. Housing loans change, right? Add some features. And this is how you need to look at it, your product portfolio. Then you go for the decline stage. You know the product is going to come down. What actions you are going to do, right? We don't want to spend money, but even for you, if you really look at it in your bank portfolio, you notice that there are some banks product brand names are there, just like we don't want to put more things, right? So that's the decline stage. So we need to understand, therefore, from your there, of course, you know the product is coming down, sales are going. So what we try to do, maybe the cut price sometimes, right, and try to sell it and finish it off, right? So remember these stages, very important for you to study in your product portfolio, right? So having understood this, you can get an idea about what is my organization present product situation, right? So another techniques under portfolio analysis apart from PLC is called Bcg. Now Bcg is a certain organization in USA. Is a group, or I mean some consultancy firm tool. They have determined certain strategies to look at it. What are your product portfolio, right? They look at it two axes. Two areas. What are the two areas? Your relative market share and the market growth. So they look at it two axes and they combine with a matrix we call BCG matrix, right? BCG matrix. Okay. Now look at it. This means BCG matrix. Right. Look at the BCG matrix. Two axes. One axis is market growth rate. Other one is market share. Now, what are we discussing now? We are discussing the internal strengths or internal analysis. Where we are discussing now existing product portfolio. One method we use PLC, and then another one is you look at it your product portfolio. Which products give you your high profits? Which product you need to support? Which product you need to add values? Things like that. Accordingly, now the BCG matrix saying your organization product portfolio or the products or services can be put into the 4 quadrant. One of these 4 quadrant based on 2 criteria. One is market share and market growth rate. Now, the word what you call the relative to that product into the market, right? Accordingly, they have identified 4 type of quadrants. This quadrant I'm going to explain to you now. Okay, right. Now, if you really look at your if the products will give high revenue, high profits, what are the products you noted from here? The products which you give high profits, high market share. So usually everybody is like to go for cash cows. Why? Why cash cow? Because cash cow, you noted that high market share, high growth rate, right? So mature growth rate and high share, that is the products if you can identify in this category is called what? Basically, it's your current account balances, because we want to pay any interest for that, or maybe sometimes the savings. Now you look at it, which products comes under cash cows, right? Okay, so that's the most cash cow. That's what you call cash cow. It generates more profits to the organization. Then you have another product we call stars. Right? Stars products market share is high, but there's opportunity for further improving the market because there's a market growth potential. What are the products comes under your bank comes under stars, which also give a little high profit, but there's a more opportunity to increase the market. But then certain products in your portfolio can go to question mark area. Now, what does question mark mean? You don't know whether this product is good or not. So for that, we need money generated from the cash cow to pump to the question mark product and add value and try to convert all these question mark products to stars and from stars to cash cow. Another fear in this question mark product, sometimes this question mark product rather than going to stars or cash cow can come to the dog stage. So what is dog stage mean? Dogs are the product so which have either low market share and the low growth. So those are the products we can identify under BLC as the decline stage product. Now, if you really look at it, these 4 quadrant of BCG model with the PLC model, right? If you compare with these two, if you really look at it, as I explained to you, dogs can be put under decline stage of the product life cycle, right? So what comes the maturity stage? The maturity stage comes the cash cows. But there are some products in the stars can be considered as stars. They are going to come to the maturity stage. But there may be a question marks products can come in the introductory stage, right? It can go up, can grow, or can come down, right? So question marks can go both ways. So therefore, we need to analyze all about your products, which product fall into which grade, and how these products can be converted to cash cows or stars, or develop more in the maturity stage in the product life cycle. Now, that is why we need to analyze your product portfolio. What is your present position, right? Okay, now I'll explain to you some of the areas we need to look at it. Right? You need to analyze when you're developing your strategy planning, because these we need input to your strategy planning to decide which area you need to focus when you're developing your strategy plan for next 3 years. Right. Okay, so that I think you have an idea about strategies. This another important area, right? This area I have incorporate today for you as a new area. We call them stakeholders. You know the stakeholders, how you define a stakeholder. Stakeholder can be defined as the people who are interested about your organization, right? The people who are interested about your organization. Now, you can divide it your stakeholders. You know, if you really look at it from the next slide, you may have a lot of stakeholders. Your internal stakeholders like staff and the management. You have a micro and stakeholders, customers, suppliers, creditors, community at large, the government or the monitor, the what you call the regulator, environment, maybe future generation, shareholders, employees. You can have all are interest about your organization, right? So you can divide it into two. Now you see, important thing you need to understand here, stakeholders can be divided into three. One is internal stakeholders. Who are the internal stakeholders? Internal stakeholders are, we call them as your employees, your management and things. Who are the external stakeholders? Those are stakeholders, you can say government, customers, right? All are externals. So their objectives are varying. And there are some stakeholders are connected stakeholders. That means the people who are having the shares, shareholder, being a director, he is external and internal both. So therefore, we call them as a connected stakeholders. So therefore, stakeholders can be divided into three: internal stakeholders, connected stakeholders, and external stakeholders. Right. Now, why we need to study stakeholders? Now, if questions come, the role of a stakeholder of preparation of strategy planning, right? Okay, what is the role of a stakeholders of preparation? Because you have to say, then the questions comes like that. First, you need to say who are stakeholders, right? Okay, so you know these stakeholders having different levels of power as far as the organization interest is concerned. Now, all the stakeholders are not having the same interest about your organization, but if you really look at it, see with that, no, right? If you have a different type of stakeholders, we have the different levels of interest about your organization. Now, say for example, employees, they have a different interest. The shareholders, they have a different interest. They want dividends, profits, and all. What are the objectives of employees? They want good salary, bonuses, you know, confident business, working environment, and things like that. Whereas the government is expecting for you to pay their taxes, and then our regulator also may need to ensure that organization is run without having any issue. So according to the prevailing laws and rules and regulation directions imposed by them. Then the customers are expecting to give a more maximum interest rate, so take loans and products at a low rates, right? Then the competitor will look at it what the others are doing. So likewise, you have a different stakeholders, and they may have the different degree of interest about your organization. So then, if they like what we have done in your product portfolio analysis, so we need to analyze our stakeholders, right? So therefore, we need to analyze our stakeholders. So then only we can decide how best to handle these stakeholders, right? How to identify your stakeholders, right? So it is important. Now, why? Because sometimes the stakeholders have even conflicts, right? In the event of a conflict, organization will need to decide which stakeholders' needs and objectives are more important, and this will commonly be the most dominant stakeholder who is having the most power. So that is why we need to analyze our stakeholders. Who are the key players in the market as our stakeholders, right? Okay, so based on that, based on the power as well as the interest about the stakeholders about your organization, now a scientist called Mendelo, and he has developed some matrix. Now, the moment you say it's a matrix, is a quadrant, 4 quadrant, right? Like BCG, right? Okay, so the Mendelo uh, has developed a model we call Mendel's power matrix or power interest matrix to study the study the stakeholders. Okay, remember that. So Mendel's power interest matrix. So how this Mendel's matrix is used is a model which can be used to prioritize stakeholders and decide how to deal with each of them. It's very important. Now, it's depend on stakeholders' power and interest about your organization. Suppose now the organization, some of the customers are very interested about your organization product as one of the stakeholder. So you must give a priority to them to sort out their problems, right? Otherwise, they will leave. Just look at it, the matrix developed by Mendelov. It's called ABCD. So, like earlier we discussed about discuss about question mark, dog, cash, cows, and stars. Likewise, Mendelov has divided your stakeholders into 4 groups. What are these 4 groups? Minimal effects. That means you don't want to pay more attention for these type of stakeholders, right? Because their level of interest is low, their power also low. So therefore, we don't want to pay more attention to such stakeholders. But then there are some stakeholders, right? Their power, of course, level of interest is very high, but power is not there, but their interest is very high. Then you also noted that some people, key players, who are the key players? Like they are having the power as well as they are having the high level of our interest. That means, for example, if I say good customers, our regulators, right? Regulator can talk, shareholders can come under this. Why? They are the people who look at it. They have very much interest. Our regulator as well as government sometimes they are very interested, right? Likewise, we can divide it, having understood the relative importance of those stakeholders can be put into these 4 quadrants, right? Into these 4 quadrants. I think now you understood that part is very much. Okay, right. Now, based on this, what we say, we call the minimal effect, the first quadrant, like dog. So, India, of course, you know, the low level of interest and power makes these stakeholders open to influence. So, there are more likely than other to accept what they are told and follow instruction. So, we don't want to put more, they believe what we are telling. Second kind of segment or stakeholder group we call informed group. Keep informed group, where you noted that their low level of interest and uh, basically we call them as uh, have a high level of interest in the strategy but lack sufficient power to influence it. So we need to understand. So these type of stakeholders, because we need to communicate them, right? Then the next level we call keep satisfied. Now, keep satisfied means these stakeholders satisfied to avoid them gaining interest and moving to key players box. So we need to understand this type of group. Then we had explained to you key players. So those are the important people uh, in the business, key stakeholders who have basically uh, more impact on our business. So we need to look out now through this. Remember, through this Mendelov analysis, what we try to do, we are trying to analyze the our stakeholders. Okay, right. So what we are learning up to now, what we are learning, we are studying what is our present position, situational analysis. Where are we now? For in order to identify our own thing, we analyze our internal things, right? Okay. Under that, what we learn, we need to learn the uh, we need to analyze our we use certain techniques or tools, analytical tools, to find it out what is our present position. For that, we started with uh, two important techniques developed uh, by uh, two important people, and that is product life cycle and BCG. Right? Those are portfolio analysis. What are our product portfolio? Uh, right. Then we discuss about the generating market share and income. Then we learn about the BCG models. Then we discuss now how we analyze our stakeholders. For that we use Mendelov method. Next, now we are going to look at it. For that, also another techniques we call a SWOT analysis. I think most of the time there you may be aware what is SWOT, right? SWOT analysis is like a balance sheet of a financial state. What balance sheet is talk about? Balance sheet is talk about at any given time. This is your financial position of the organization. The SWOT analysis is also the same. It tells you this is the position about your organization. Now, if you go today to do a body checkup today, and that is your SWOT analysis. If you go for body check today, it's a SWOT analysis. What are the tests? What are the organs you are tested is good? What are the things you are not good at? Right? So likewise, organizations carry out one of the main techniques is called SWOT analysis. Now, BCG's competitor analysis, the BCG, what we have learned up to now, the PSC will support the SWOT analysis. Remember, right? Okay, SWOT analysis is a process where the management team identify your internal and external factors that will impact your organization's future performance. Now, Now the banks or the company's strength and weaknesses are, we call them as internal factors, and opportunities and threats are dealing with factors external to the company. Now, usually before you develop a strategy plan, very famous one, every bank will do a SWOT analysis, right? Now, if I ask you, okay, BOC, what are the strengths of the BOC? What are the weaknesses of your BOC? Internal factors. One important strength. What are the strengths in terms of asset base? Close to 3 trillion asset. Close to 2 billion deposits. Larger network, around 500 odd branches. Large customer base, right? So these are strengths. Large number of staff is maybe a strength as well as a weakness. People are well aware. Everybody is aware what is backups. Those are the strengths. What are the weaknesses? What are the weaknesses? Example I'm just telling, right? It may be not the weak. Maybe the staff also sometimes may be a weak. Old staff, too many staff. Then you may have not much technically good as compared with your competitor. Now remember, now the SWOT analysis, always we look at it, when you define what is SWOT, you have to say what is SWOT, strengths. How to define a strength? The strengths mean your organization good at compared with your competitor. Your organization weak compared with your competitor. Now say I told you, if you're going to take the technology for say Bank Epsilon, is a sort of a weakness compared with someone who may be to some extent to commercial bank, right? Competitor, right? Opportunity. How we are going to observe the market opportunity, external factors, right? How these opportunities are available in the market, and to what extent you are going to get the maximum utilization from the opportunities available. The threat which are coming from external environment. What is the impact of threat to your organization when you are compared with your competitor? Now, good thing, I will tell you this pandemic situation using SWOT analysis. Example. Now, it's a threat. Now, how pandemic become threat to your bank against your competitor? Can anybody tell? So these are the way you need to analyze. So, now say pandemic situation, country lockdown, for example, right? Country lockdown. Then what happened? We need branches. So I have written an article about future of banking branches, maybe somewhere in or January or December, I can't remember the exact date. Please read in the daily news. Right? I have talked all these things. But apart from that, now take the pandemic situation. Now look at the SWOT. Take the threat factor. Your bank versus another bank. Suppose your technology good. Your bank is closed, branches are closed, you cannot go to work, but people need money. So how you provide services? If your internet is good, internet banking, mobile banking, all are good, you have an advantage of that threat compared with your competitor. The banks sometimes, like some banks, all banks, government banks, right? I don't want to mention the name. They don't have much IT. So they're not in the position to provide a lot of services to customers because they don't have the technology facility to do that. So it's a threat to somebody, but it's an opportunity for somebody because threats become opportunity for some organization. They are good at. Some people can work at home. So to what extent your organization facilitate your employees to work at home, right? Some banks give incentive the people to work at home, come to office. Why we come to office? They give some money for that, some incentive to work at during the corona time at work. Why? If you are good at IT, you don't want to come. You can do the same service while at home. So in that sense, they spend more money for that. Why? Your opportunity is a threat to you all otherwise. Right? So you need to analyze now, good way. Right? What are the things you're good at? What are the things you're not good at? Right? And remember that. Therefore, the SWOT analysis is a useful, powerful technology or analytical weapon you can make use of in your strategic plan. Then what your strategic planning is trying to do, try to identify your strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, threats, and try to come up with the solution in the form of your goals or your strategies. How do you address these issues? When you're setting your goals and objectives, say, now my bank is not so good at IT or digitally. Now my strategy plan for next 3 years is fully prioritized, but how to strategize my bank for more digital oriented bank. That is your strategic plan. Right? How to do that is a strategy. Right? So these are the things you need to know. That is why we need to carry out the SWOT analysis. That is why we need to carry the SWOT analysis. Suppose at the examiners you usually ask about the SWOT analysis, you need to say, first you need to say its acronym. What is strength mean? What is state stand for? Right? Strength is the more internal thing. What are the things you are good at against your competitors, if you really look at it? What community see as your strengths? Now, say for example, another way, National Savings Bank, they think the most safest place or most safest bank. Why is that? Because Act given them a security, because you are not losing any sort of a money deposited, because the government guaranteed, not the deposit insurance scheme, the government guaranteed, but not others. That's their strength. But what is their main weaknesses about the IT? So you see how you converted your weaknesses to strength, how you make use of strengths to cover the weaknesses. That is strategic planning. Right? What are the opportunities of the market? And what are the threats you're facing? How you use some of the threats to become an opportunity for your bank. I told you a classic example. To what extent your bank is digitalized, which certain factors under Corona is threats to certain banks, but Corona make it opportunity for some other banks. Because remember, customer may look at it, how they treat you at the bad times, how they look after. Like a dog, customer is also like a dog, like an elephant. Why I'm telling so? So they will remember, especially for elephant, right? What you have done, dog also remember, right? මොකක් ඔයා බලන්නකෝ ඔය යන ගමන් නිකන් බල්ලෙකුට ගහන්නකෝ පහර ඊට පස්සේ ඔයා දකින්න පාර ඔයාට බුරන අලුත් ඒවා. So dogs, sometimes the customers are like a dog and an elephant. They know, they remember. අඩේ මම කොරෝනා වෙලාවේ ගෙදර වෙලා ඉන්නකොට මට කිසිම සාහනයක් දුන්නේ නැහැ. මට හවුසින් ලෝන් එක ගෙවන්න කිව්වා. කරදර කළා. දැන් එනවා මගේ පස්සෙන් බිස්නස් කරන්න. Right? Okay. So those are some of the things you need to look at. Right. Okay. So you know why the SWOT analysis become a very important, powerful tool in strategic planning. So it facilitates us to study our position and what are the advantages of SWOT analysis. Right? It's very simple. You know, easy to understand. We don't want much techniques. Average person look at it. So SWOT analysis can be done for your bank. SWOT analysis can be do it for yourself. And SWOT analysis can be done for country. Right? Do it for yourself. What are your strengths? These are good at your exam, right? Some people, some students are good at certain areas. Right? Okay, some are not good at certain areas. That is why case studies introduced. That is why compulsory question introduced to the exam. Why? Because your compulsory question, you're compelled to answer. And also it's cover the full syllabus. Otherwise, you may study only few sections. If you are lucky, you get questions from that area, so you get higher marks. But you don't know anything about some other areas. But the guy who knows all the knowledge about all the areas maybe not got much more than you. So in order to prevent that, only that is why sometimes the academic college like universities and all MBAs and degree levels, they incorporate case studies. It covered the entire area. Without that, you cannot write the answer. Now, sometimes also it's a good examiners are do things like that. Those are the good examiners questions. Now, if I got a one question, rather than dividing into one area, now in our case, so big questions coming from corporate governance, questions coming from my area, questions coming from compliance, questions are coming from risk management, questions are coming from different internal audit and financial reporting and all things like that. So when you are thorough on that, there's a questions come, you can answer. But my issue is, so even though within the same question, you incorporate another two questions in other area. So then at least you don't know which area is coming. So you have to be ready with all the areas. Okay, that's the examiner's point of view. But once they come back to the SWOT analysis, the SWOT analysis is very simple, easy to understand, and make use of for analyze. Give a lot of information. And cost not so high, right? For you collect information from inside, internally, that freely available. External information also you can get it very simply through secondary information level. How? Publish central bank annual reports, some publish analytical done by newspaper articles. There you get some external information. So if you really look at cost, also not so high. And clarity helps to summarize. When you can summarize what you learn, right? These are some of the advantages, right? And there are some disadvantages of SWOT analysis as well. Now, what are the disadvantages? Simplicity also becomes advantages as well, because it won't tells you priority areas, which area you need to attend first. So that's another important. Another drawback of SWOT analysis, as I told you, is give you a picture of the situation. If you want to further analysis about what is really happened, you need to do a further research. SWOT will give a framework. ඔයාට උන ඇයි උන හැදුනේ? For that you need to do a further research, further study. That is one of the main disadvantage of SWOT analysis. Okay, that's one of the main disadvantage of SWOT analysis. Now, there's something called periodical SWOT analysis. What is that? Why is periodical SWOT? What is the meaning of, rather than asking SWOT analysis, why they put periodical SWOT analysis? That's a very important thing. A lot of students, sometimes I can remember when they first ask about, in fact, this is a very famous question at exam. A lot of questions ask what are the advantages and disadvantages of SWOT analysis. One time I can still remember, there's a question asked, periodical SWOT analysis. Then students thought, what is periodical? They thought that is not what they have learned. They said something specific thing, they'll not written anything. I had some students like that, because they said periodical SWOT analysis is something new, different SWOT analysis. What is really a periodical SWOT analysis? I'll give you another good example. Now you do a body checkup, and you do a body checkup today. Take the corona test value, a good example, but forget about this body test and all. You did the PCR. Now you found negative. Now your PCR is negative. Now it's a guarantee for you. That doesn't mean you never get corona. No. So then, if you need to check again, but still you need to do it again sometime, maybe 1 month time. That time you may be having the corona, right? Likewise, so the SWOT analysis is you need to continuously do it. You need to do periodically, because things are changing. The environmental factors and internal factors may change. For that, organization need to do periodical SWOT analysis. That is why sometimes the doctor said, okay, first you take the test for these areas, and with the test we go to the doctor. But doctor said, okay, good, and they give after another, these are the treatment. So you come after another 3 months with another test. Right? That is a periodical testing. You see now what this medicine will work, or another symptom created in some other area, like, right? That is why we need to do a periodical SWOT analysis. Right? I hope you understood that. Now, up to now, what we have learned internal audits. So what are the things we learned to study about your internal positions? One, we discuss about PLC. We discuss about the BCG. And then we discuss about the competitor analysis, the stakeholder analysis, as well as the SWOT analysis, right? So there are so many things, but in your level is that's enough. Now we are going to look at it external factors. We're going to look at it external factors as well. External environments we are going to look at. What are the things we're going to learn at external? This is our general business environment. We need to analyze our competitor. We need to analyze our other factors. Sometimes we need to analyze our customers as well. What type of customers? Example, we have a retail base and the corporate levels. What is our retail banking? We are catering to the retail sector. We have a large number of customers. We have a corporate sector which give up more business to us. Like that, we need to analyze your immediate or micro environment as well as the macro environment. For that, we carried out the external audit. Right? We carried out external audit. What are the tools available for us to carry out external audit? Let's look at it now. Famous one, very famous one we call pistol analysis. So like SWOT is one of the tools, very important tool that can be used to screen the environmental factors that an organization operates. Now remember, can you control pistol factors? No, you cannot control, because it's beyond our control. So therefore, we need to adapt to these changes, or we need to live with these changes. Right? So it's one of the tools that can be used heavily for strategy planning. Here we look at it more of macro factors. Right? Okay. So, pistol analysis. If a question asks, write short notes and all, what we need to know? So we need to first specify what are like SWOT, what we have done it, right? So we need to explain what is this PES acronym stand for. Remember that. That's important. You are losing 1 mark. If you are not, if you say pistol analysis, write about the pistol analysis, good, bad, then all. No. First, you have to say, so what is pistol stand for? A lot of students are missing that part because they think examiner knows these things. Right? That's an important thing. Being an examiner, I know a lot of students, right, thinking we knew what they taught. Right? Also for that, you have at the exam, remember these are the important things. At the exam, you always consider examiner not knowing anything. Right? Examiner matta කියලා හිතාගෙන තමයි ලියන්නේ. එයාට educate කරනවා කියලා හිතලා ලියන්නේ. සමහරවිට ඔයගොල්ලෝ උත්තර ලියනකොට ඉතින් examiner කඩේ යවන්නත් හදනවා. Then if you are not sure your answer, what do you try to do? එයා අර ළඟින් යන්න ගහනවා. ඔයාට ඕනම් මේක හිතා ගන්න හරි කියලා. So examiners are very smart guys. They know, right? They can understand with the experience when the students exactly know and how to, because what happened after that, examiner feel it not good at you, they not look at your exam paper properly also. Why? We all are human beings, know with one next, right? So don't try to cheat examiner. So I just put for thought, right, when you're writing answers. Now, first, as I explained to you, you have to say tester. Another important thing is I will at the point I will tell you. Now, most of the time, the examiners, certain things were given at the exam. Uh, for example, I may quote something, right? Now, at the exam, the one there's a questions like that, correct? Compliance function should be a part of organization culture. Do you agree? That's all. For example. Now, sometimes without agreeing, you tell certain things. Right now, if a question comes like that, always say agreed to the above statement. Definitely, you get 1 mark for that. Whether you agree for statement. Then you need the next 4 points or the 4 marks. You need to get justifying why you say is that agree. Suppose he is not disagree, you have to justify why you are not disagree. Right? That is the 4 points you are getting, the balance 4. You think sometimes without saying agree or not agree, all the අපි තමයි හිතන්න ඕනේ එක්සැමිනර් තමයි හිතන්න ඕනේ මෙයා agreed නැද්ද කියලා ඒක බලලා. Right? Don't do that. So easily 1 mark is losing because of your sometimes negligence. Okay, coming back to posture analysis. Right? Coming back to posture analysis. Right? You know the posture analysis means you look at your external factors like political, economic, social, technological, right? I don't want to tell all these things. Legal, environmental factors. How these factors, these are we call uncontrollable factors. So you need to manage these control. So you need to live with this. Right now, say for an example, you take an economy as an example. How economy factors impact your business? Now, the country's economy, say for example, country's inflation is high, say 6%, for example. I just give you an example. Country's economy's one factor is inflation. What are the economy factors? Inflation, exchange rate, economic growth, disposable incomes, and things like that. No, economic factors. Now, how these factors impact the banking business? Now, you see the country's economic growth in maybe expecting the negative. Inflation, say for example, 6%. We are offering 5%, say 4% interest rate. So what is the type of risk the customer is facing? Customer is facing for inflation risk, because after 1 year, now presently you have a 6% inflation rate, but you are not gaining anything. Right? You need to look at it all aspects. Interest rates scenario. Now you see the today's interest rates. Bank's point of view, good. How? Why? Because we have a SDFR and all these are low now. But people who are living with the fixed income, like a lot of retirement benefits, people who deposit the money, so maybe 10%, now is 5%. If their income comes down by 50%. So we need to look at it, all these factors. And how the country going to grow if your interest rate is high? So therefore, we need to reduce the lending rates. Yeah, we need to balance how it impacts our businesses, how the tax policies impact our businesses. The government put in their budget for high taxes for banks. Example, how will it impact, right? So the political stability, safety regulations, all matters of business. So as a bank person, so you need to remember, understand your strategic plan, your positions in terms of those factors. If the country's economy is not doing well, no point of setting high targets, high profit targets, because you cannot achieve, right? Okay. Now we need to look at the social factors, demographic factors, population growth, age factors, the lifeline pattern of people. Right now, in the social factors, we identify, employees divided into customers are divided into different groups. Now we have Z generation, we have a millennial or Y generation, and we have baby boomers, right? Like that, X generations. Okay, so they have a different characteristics. We have a aging population. We have to come up with new pension products. Our product portfolio, we need to change as our social pattern. Plant may be open in the night because, and also they need, the young guys need, is a generation, is they don't want to go to the branch, they want to do business online, So whether my bank is geared for that, for digitalization, the technological aspects, we need to look at it. What are the new opportunities available in the market? New software packages, new co-banking solution, new mobile facilities. Then it is go line with the legal aspects, the regulatory aspects. All factors we need to look at. The regulator comes with some new framework now. Say 25% of your, say for an example, from the credit expected, I mean LCs you are bringing here, converted to, they need to be converted to 25% to local currency, and it has to, money has to generate it within 180 days. Why is that? How it impact your LC business? Why country has done this one? What are the advantages for them? So these things we can't know, is a regulator, is a decision. So we need to adhere. Why is that? Why 25%? Some people are criticizing, some people are said so many things, but as we need to look at it from the country's point of view, why they have put that condition? Why this 25%? Expect rates we need to convert to local currency. Now you see, we have a high loan debt prepayment scheme. Every year maybe 1 billion to need to be paid. The last year we paid from our resources, from foreign reserves. It has depleted from 702 now to 4.5. If further it comes down, then we impact our balance of payment. This comes down to 1 to 2%, then nobody is going to give us the goods because we can't open LC. Countries don't have adequate resources. Then we need to strengthen. Otherwise, we need to get the IMF loan for that. We have enough loan on that trade balance, standby arrangements. So then we need to strengthen our foreign reserve. How can you strengthen our foreign reserve? One may to more exports. Export is not so good now. or maybe expatriates, sending the foreign remittances. This year, the government is targeting around, I think, around 14 billion of exports, around 1 to 2 billion of FDIs, remittances. It's not enough sometimes. So then, those money need to be flowing to the reserves. That is why I say 25%, say 100 million export receivable. So from that, 100 US dollars. So 25 US dollars million go to the government and through the banking sector, and we can strengthen our foreign reserve ratio, foreign reserve amount. Some strategies organizations or regulators need to do. So then we need to look at it, banks and our customers, how they look at it, this factor, how banks also face these things, how the impact on that. So banks, we need to adhere to all these regulations. So then what our customers will think on that, right? Now, you see how important all these, I just give you an example, how these pestle factors impact. Now, today people are talking about green financing. That's environmental. Some people are talking about the sustainable financing. Right now, there are a big cow is going for green financing. Some people are telling banks are not supporting green financing. So you need to understand that why banks are not supporting green finance. Banks have obligation. Banks taking short-term deposits and giving long-term loans. So there's a maturity mismatching also. We need to look at it, because when you go green financing, that's the problem we are facing. Banks. So we need to balance all these things. Remember. Okay, so that is why we need to understand these pestle factors when you're developing our strategic plan. Right? That is why the strategic plan incorporated to your syllabus. We discuss one of the loophole, one of the criticism, or one of the pitfalls of strategic planning. People are not aware about these things. People are not know these things. How they, without having a knowledge about these all things, how they prepare strategic plan. Okay, right. So I think now you understood the importance of pestle factors, how it's contributing to the strategic plan. Now sometimes the examiner asks you questions like this. Compare and contrast social SWOT analysis and pestle analysis. Right? Now remember, pestle analysis, we talk about external environmental factors. So therefore, pestle analysis can be used as an input to the SWOT analysis. SWOT, we talk about internal analysis as external. So how SWOT prepared? Opportunities available in the market, threats faced by the organization through the support of pestle analysis. So therefore, remember, the pestle will support your SWOT analysis. Right? Why? SWOT is talk about internal and external. So how external information you can get it? Through thorough analysis of pestle factors. Right? Okay. So both SWOT and pestle, so therefore, can be used as an analytical tool to analyze your present organization position. Right. Another method. So another external factor which came on this year's exam is called the Michael Porter 5 forces analysis. It's to analyze your competitor environment. Right? Now, what is the importance of Porter's 5 forces analytical tool for supporting your strategic plan? Now, remember, Porter 5 forces analyzes and identify and analysis 5 competitive forces that shape every industry and helps determines an industry's weaknesses and strengths. These 5 forces. Right now, before that, we look at it. What are these 5 forces? This is the guy who still living, right? This Michael Porter is the only living legend in the world today, right? So he came up with a lot of theories. Michael Porter, competitive analysis like differentiation, cost advantage, and focus theory. And he came up with Michael Porter's 5 forces strategy, and he also came up with another analysis called industry analysis, so international business industry analysis. Why countries doing better than us, like that. Okay, we take the Porter's 5 forces. He has identified 5 forces the organization can impact. 1, rivalry among existing firms. First, before I'll give you some explanation about the 5 forces, I try to identify these 5 forces. 1 is rivalry among existing firms. Now, that means who are your competitors? Like now, if you take a bank, commercial bank for an example, who are their competitors? All the commercial banks, they are competitors. Take Bank of Sri Lanka for example. Commercial bank, People's Bank, right? All commercial banks may be a competitor, right? There may be indirect competitors as well. So the rivalry means among the existing firms. So you need to understand, say, if you do a Michael Porter's 5 forces analysis for Bank of Sri Lanka, who are those competitors like Commercial Bank, HNB, Sampath, People's Bank, what they are doing, right? Okay. Then you look at the threat of new entrants. Are there new banks going to come? Now, government already has developed some development bank opportunities. Maybe another foreign bank comes, like Bank of China, recently joined. Suppose Construction Bank of China going to come to Sri Lanka. All the LCs need to be open. They may come up with something like that. If you want to get goods from the China, you need to open LC from my bank. Like finished, no? Right? Threat of new entrants. Then the bargaining power of suppliers. Now, the guys who provide the software packages and things like that, and also support from government, like through Lanka Clear. Bargaining power of buyers. So customers we can put in the banking sector for these two. Borrowers as well as depositors. And what are the threat of substitute? Now fintechs coming with challenge to banks, cryptocurrencies. So a lot of things we need to understand, right? So these are the 5 forces. Going back again to the earlier one now, having understood that now, so therefore the Michael Porter's, as I explained to you, is identify, analyze these 5 competitive forces that shape every industry and have determined the industry's weaknesses and strengths. And it also helps the organizations to understand the factors affecting the profitability in a specific industry, and also can help them to help the organization to take some quality decisions. Decision related to what? Okay, whether which we market we try to enter into, which segment we are going to cater into. So how to handle the competitive strategy? Michael Porter's talk. Right. So that is the importance of Michael Porter analysis. So here, what we are trying to do, we are going to analyze. Now, we did a lot of analytical things, tools to analyze our in-person situation. Internal. Now we are talking about a little bit of external. Here we look at it basically our competition. Right? How we make use of the competitive forces, how the competitive forces impact my business. Right? So therefore, how loyal your industry, right? So then you don't worry about now the classic example here at the time of not now. So the dialogue, I will take an example for dialogue. Now dialogue had a very big mental issues. I mean the organization problem when these Airtel going to come to Sri Lanka. Because why? Airtel is one of the famous main giant in India, mobile communicating giant, and they are associated with during that time with Shah Rukh Khan, where the Sri Lankan guys are very much happy. So the dialogue had a very big issue when Airtel comes to Sri Lanka. So what actions the dialogue has taken to face this problem about new threat? Right? So we need to understand now how banks may look at it. The fintech company is going to come. Now we also have a problem with dialogue about easy cash. So we need to look at it, our bargaining power of our suppliers, our mobile companies come up with new mobile solution. Right? So we need to understand how many of us, to what extent our bank is ready for that. So we need to take into account when you develop our next strategy. Right. So then we need to look at it, some of the factors covered under what you call the Michael Porter's 5. If you take the new entrants, the ease which new competitors can enter into the market. How now the banking sector is not so easy. Why? We have a lot of regulations. You need to get the bank license, but still there people can come. What we need to do then power of suppliers. Example. Now ability of suppliers to drive up the prices of your inputs. We need to look at it. Then power of customers, how sophisticated they are, how knowledgeable they are, how literate they are, how they are financially literate. All things we need to look at it because they are demanding. Then computer rivalry, as I explained to you, what are their strengths? Better than us or not? And the strict top substitute. They may come up with similar product even for insurance companies. They also come up with some similar products. And if the share market is going down, capital market is going down, how it impact to us? Fintechs threaten role. So therefore, it's very important for us to understand. So the question this year, the examiner asked from you, discuss precisely the 5 forces and important strategy planning process. So that's the answer. So first you need to draw the 5 forces ideal and briefly explain how these 5 forces impact your businesses, which will facilitate to study about your present organizational situation. Right. So therefore, we learn so much of factors to study about your present situation. So entire day today, we spent for study about the organization present position. Where are we now? Last week we discussed about where are we want to be. There, of course, we discuss missions, goals, objectives, strategic intent, everything. Now today, what we have discussed? We discussed today, where are we now? In order to go there, we know what is our present situation. Right? So the next couple of days, we may look at it. How to be there. That is the most important thing. That is strategies. And also we need to find it out whether are we went on to the correct position, are we going to the correct decision. For that, how do you know whether we have reached the destination? That is why we have KPIs. Whether our strategies work, whether strategy is successful, all things we need to learn next couple of weeks. Right? So we will end up today. And we answer indirectly the questions came on this year. What is that question? What is strategy planning steps involved? I explained to you basically this is very broad. Then we discussed last week as well. What are the benefits of a strategy planning? And what are the pitfalls of strategy planning? And how you can use it, Michael Porter, for strategy planning process. Right? Okay, so with this small note, we will stop today. And I will send you another note for strategies. And we will see you on next Saturday. Right. Okay, so try to get maximum use of these lectures. Right? Okay, if you have any questions to ask from me, right? No questions. Gihani, no? Gihani? Right. Gayani or no? Right. So we will see you on next Saturday.